I got a ASP S40AII engine because of the Thunder Tiger Pro 40 not currently being available new, and I haven't even taken it apart or anything. I did just look at the bags, but I'm going to check this engine out for potential use in Club 40 and in AMA 424. See what issues there might be. The muffler looks almost identical to a Thunder Tiger Pro 40 muffler, and the engine looks to have OS 46 mounting pattern. I'll have to check that. So check the bag of parts here. And it's got a remote needle valve that mounts on the back plate, and they've got two longer screws with lock washers for mounting that. Now the carburetor looks like it may be possible to move the needle to the carb. If you're using a Quickie backplate mount like this OS 40 mount from Jet, I'm going to see if it fits. But if you're using this kind of mount, you're not really going to have a place to put the remote needle valve. It may be possible to drill and tap a couple of holes to hold it on the back plate. We'll investigate that. First thing I want to do is check it for compatibility with the OS mount. This is the Jet OS 46 mount, and I've put an OS 46 on it and measured it, and the length is 3.850 from the back of the mount to the front of the thrust washer. This engine does have the same lug mounting pattern, so I'm going to put the screws in and then measure it. First thing to note about this is that it's got a keyed thrust washer, and the measurement from the back to the front is 3.857, so it's within a few thousandths of the same length as the OS 46 on this mount. So this is an OS 46 compatible lug mounting pattern. Now I'm going to check the back plate. The back plate looks like it'll fit, but I won't know until I take off the back plate and actually try the mount. So Going to take the back plate off. Okay, the back plate has a piston skirt relief, which is the same size as the one on the OS mount. So that makes me hopeful that this actually fits. And it does fit right in place. So now I'm going to get this mount on. The Jet OS backplate mount fits perfectly, and let's see if we have any interference. One thing I forgot to do before I put the backplate mount on was to put some oil in the engine. So what I'm going to do is put some oil in the cylinder, and I put a prop on it so I can turn it over. And it turns over just fine. There seems to be no interference with the backplate mount. It's actually got a very nice tight pinch at the top. I'm not going to rotate it but a few times. I don't like to cycle the engine before I actually start the brake in, but a few times, because you can tear up the piston to cylinder fit if you don't get the engine running and up to temperature quick enough. And this is a chrome plated brass sleeve. It's not nickel plated, so that's a good thing. It should have long wear on the cylinder. The carb has an O-ring on it, and it uses screws that screw into the carburetor. So put the carburetor in place and get the screws out for the carb mounting. So with the carb in place, I can turn over the engine. I should have put some oil in the crankshaft before I started turning it over. I clean the engine before I run it. I'm not going to show taking apart and cleaning the engine in this segment. This is just about compatibility. One last thing I want to check for compatibility is the muffler bolt pattern. So I've got a Thunder Tiger Pro 46 muffler which has the same pattern as the Thunder Tiger Pro 40, and it looks to be the same mounting pattern. It's got to be close enough, I believe, that the two are swappable. I need to check that to be sure though. For one thing, I like being able to use the Max black muffler, also known as the one piece. Okay, one thing is that the muffler bolts are longer than Thunder Tiger Pro 40 bolts, or at least the Pro 40 muffler doesn't exactly fit. So let's see what the deal is with the muffler. I believe these holes they look like they're tapped all the way through. And the screws do come out the bottom side of the muffler, so the muffler is a little different than the Thunder Tiger Pro 40 muffler. But size wise, the muffler is just a little shorter than a Pro 40 muffler. That may mean a smaller expansion chamber, which could actually hurt the performance of the engine some. It just depends. I'm not sure if this is a baffled muffler or not, so let's find out. There is a baffle in the muffler, and comes out. It's got a series of holes with bent in perforations. Doesn't look like it has as much airflow as a Pro 40 would have, but we'll have to find out. So anyway, the muffler does have a baffle, so we'll want to make sure people use baffles in their stock mufflers if they're running this in Club 40, or if it gets approved for 424. So we've gotten a look at the engine in terms of mounting and the muffler and the carb. Next step is to clean it. I'll disassemble it and clean it in lacquer thinner and lube it and make sure all the bolts are tightened properly, and I'll do that in the next video. One thing I forgot to do was to check on the remote needle valve mounting. As it turns out, the remote needle will not fit between the cylinder and the backplate. So you would have to mount the remote needle to the airframe somehow, or you can use a jet remote needle valve. Let's see how that works on here. Seems to fit right on. So while this is a $50 engine, you may need a $20 or $30 jet remote needle valve, but the thing is jet remote needle valves are excellent needle valves, and they are allowed by the Club 40 rules and the AMA rules allow remote needle valves. So I'll probably test run this engine using the remote needle valve. I will check it and see if the needle valve can be placed directly on the carburetor. To check the needle valve working on the carburetor, I'm going to take the carburetor off. Or the needle valve body fits right onto the carburetor, so should be possible to use this engine without using a remote needle valve. Thanks for watching. Hope you'll subscribe to my channel and follow the progress that I make on testing engines. I appreciate the comments and views, and look forward to making even more videos.